Can an Indian citizen be arrested for simply calling three men who made inflammatory speeches inciting violence hate mongers? Well, the Allahabad High Court seems to think so when it refused to quash a case against fact checker Mohammed Zubair today. Zubair continues to be in custody, and we continue to shine a light on this particular case. I'm Barkha Dutt. You're with the Mojo story. In moments from now, we'll be speaking to Zubair's lawyer, Colin Gonsalves, who has petitioned the Supreme Court saying he now fears for Mr. Zubair's life. The death threats online and elsewhere need to be taken seriously. Mr. Zubair is now facing two different cases. One, a 4-year-old tweet from a 40-year-old film that has now been used to say that Zubair has offended Hindu sentiments, and the other for calling three right-wing incendiary leaders hate mongers. The Allahabad High Court refused to provide any relief at all to Zubair, who continues to be in Tihar jail facing multiple cases. Colin Gonsalves, one of our most respected lawyers, senior advocate at the Supreme Court, has called for an urgent emergency bail for Muhammad Zubair. The Supreme Court appears to have paid heed, and this case will be heard tomorrow. Mr. Gonsalves joins us now. Thank you very much, Colin. It's good to see you. You have petitioned the Supreme Court citing an emergency. You have said you're very worried for your client, Muhammad Zubair's life. Why are you concerned? What has happened suddenly?
Actually, that was the conversation I had yesterday with people very close to Zubair. And they gave us examples of certain tweets where people are threatening to kill Zubair. So, and now what could happen is if he is taken by the UP police and they want to take him by train to Bangalore, anything can happen. These are very dangerous times. The police are themselves a law unto themselves. These tweeters and this underground army of, hate speech people are capable of anything. And so the people around Zubair are very scared that his life is in danger. And I believe them. And that's what I said to the court as well. We feel his life is in danger.
Are you disappointed that there was no relief from the Allahabad High Court? And I just want to bring up for the perspective of our audience this particular tweet for which Zubair faced a second case hundreds of kilometers away from Delhi in Sitapur. This was the tweet when he was actually calling out a media group, and he referenced Yati Narasimhanand among others. These were the men who held the hate Sammelan, open calls for the genocide of Muslims in Haridwar. He called them hate mongers. For this, he's been arrested. It just seems so ludicrous that I do not even sort of know how to be neutral on this particular issue. It is bizarre, and yet the Allahabad High Court has refused to intervene.
Yes, it is unbelievable that a person who simply says hate monger is put in jail, denied bail, and multiple cases are filed against him. It's totally unbelievable. All that one has to do, if I were to argue in any court, I would take out the FIR and show it to the court and ask, where is the crime in this FIR? 295A is speaking badly about religion. Zubair doesn't speak badly against religion at all. He's simply saying, these are hate mongers. And now that statement, hate mongers, is actually backed up by court orders, because all these persons, or I think most of them, have now been arrested. The courts have taken notice of their speeches and so on. So I don't understand how any judge would take even a minute and not release him on bail. In fact, a judge should straight away say, I'll quash these cases. There's nothing in these cases. I won't allow these cases to go on.
And yet that's not what's happened. The Delhi High Court has given masses of time to the police to file a response. 400 plus kilometers away in Sitapur is this case for saying hate mongers. And now there is also a suggestion of violations to the FCRA Act. How are you handling all three of these disparate cases when you stand up and ask for bail at the Supreme Court, Colin?
Barkha, at the moment, I'm just doing the UP case. The Delhi case is being done by other lawyers. And it's all a mishmash, but I hope, although I'm not certain what the outcome will be, I hope that the Supreme Court will intervene and put an end to this nightmare for Zubair. You know, a Supreme Court judge also, a retired Supreme Court judge, spoke out saying that it's unbelievable that Zubair should be arrested and not
Yeah.
be granted bail.
Actually, it was
It's
Justice
a
Deepak
nightmare.
Gupta. Justice Deepak Gupta spoke to us as well, Colin, and he said it was his words. He said the court has failed, the judiciary rather, has failed to uphold human rights in the Zubair case. He cannot see a single reason from any available information, according to Justice Gupta, that Zubair should be behind bars.
Yes. And it's also unbelievable because I think the the distance between the judiciary and the central government, which is supposed to be very, very far, is supposed to have a huge distance between the executive and the judiciary. Now that distance is shortening. So you have a very different judiciary today than we used to have, let's say, 10 years ago. It's very different.
That's a pretty serious allegation. You're basically implying that you do not believe that the courts are as independent as they were or as they ought to be.
Well, I'm not referring to the present proceedings, but I want to make it explicit that the gap between the judiciary and the executive is at its narrowest level since independence. And this executive, this central government, has been very successful in interfering maliciously with the judiciary.
Can you
Empty
elaborate? Can
judges.
you elaborate? Can you elaborate on that?
Well, you've seen supersession of judges, for example, right? Judges are so terrified today that if they are the senior most judge in the High Court or a Chief Justice of the High Court, if they don't follow what the central government expects them to do, they could just be superseded or transferred to a court like, let's say, Meghalaya or Sikkim, where there are hardly any judges and hardly any cases. This government is guilty of trying to destroy the judiciary and its independence. And I frankly feel that those at the helm of affairs actually want to destroy the judiciary completely. They don't want anyone questioning the executive. They don't want anyone asking the executive any questions. They want complete, monolithic, autocratic rule. And that's a frightening situation for India. And many judges, I must say, many good judges have suffered under this regime with this
But
supersession and transfer business. And many good judges today are afraid to pass strong judgments, even though they know in their hearts that the government has done something totally unconstitutional. They are afraid to write good judgments. That's the state we are in.
those are very strong words and very serious charges. And do you not think the judges themselves, I mean, you've said the government is trying to dilute or destroy the independence of the judiciary, but surely it is up to the conscience of every individual judge, like every individual journalist, like every individual lawyer, to stand up for what you believe.
See, you're right, but it's not so simple. For example, a judge who's been serving his high court, let's say for 10, 11, 12 years, sometimes more, and now he's become very senior or he's become Chief Justice, and he knows what terrible consequences will follow if he doesn't follow the central government's line. It's very hard for even a good and strong judge to say, I've done so much for the judiciary, I've worked so hard in my high court, and now to be left behind and be superseded by a judge three or four rungs below me. It's very hard, and judges break, their spirits break. And it needs more than the individual judge's conviction. Of course, I agree with you, Barkha. You should say, a judge should say, to hell with it. I'm a Chief Justice of a High Court. I'll hang around here. I'll retire as a Chief Justice, but I will not bend to these tyrants. That's what they should do. But I can understand the other side also. It breaks their spirit. It ruins them completely. From being upright judges to suddenly becoming docile human beings. It's such a sad thing to see in people whom you know.
Very grave and disconcerting words from you, Mr. Gonsalves. Before we end, I want to go back to Muhammad Zubair and that case that you are sort of fighting in the Supreme Court. What is your hope? What is your hope? You said it shouldn't take a judge even a minute. The Supreme Court now must put an end to this nightmare. What will be the centrality of your argument?
Well, the centrality is what I told you already. I'm going to open to the FIR. I will say this is what he's accused of, and they are doing a lot of time pass and trying to look for other issues by looking at his computer and looking at his mobile phone and all that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that they have said he tried to destroy evidence because he reformatted his phone. We don't have his laptop. But actually, Zubair doesn't deny posting these 2 tweets. That's what everybody has missed. He doesn't deny these tweets.
Correct, Barkha. What has his mobile phone or his laptop got to do with this case?
Yeah.
They are fishing. They're looking for other kind of stories to latch on to. But frankly, if I was his lawyer and if I had advised him, I would say refuse. And we would refuse in writing to hand over the laptop and the mobile phone because it had nothing to do with the case. He admits it, like you said, you got the point exactly. He says, yes, of course I did these tweets. Now what? So they're looking for they don't have a case. So they're trying to use this seizure of this laptop and his mobile to look at other things and latch on to something else.
But since you are representing him in this case where on the hate monger tweet, the point is because there are multiple cases, even if you secured bail for him in one, that doesn't mean he actually comes out.
Well, I think this is the main case remaining now. This UP case is the main case. You must remember there were 2 other cases filed against him. One in Delhi and one in Chhattisgarh, and we fought both these cases. And in both these cases, the High Court said no coercive action. So he's been winning case after case. It's only here where the courts have, in a sense, let us down. I'm very disappointed, but that's life, I suppose. Judges are entitled to have their own views, and we are entitled to be very disappointed with the outcome of certain cases. We're not going to give up, and we hope something comes out of this.
Well, thank you, Colin. We will have you back, once we know what's happening in the Supreme Court, because we're still looking ahead at what the court might do. But I think the larger takeaway is the disquieting comments you have made about the independence of institutions. And that is really, in a sense, where our attention will eventually turn beyond individuals. Thank you very much, Colin Gonsalves, for talking to us. And I hope to have you back soon when we have more details on what the court does or does not do. Thank you.
Take care, Barkha.
Take care. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.